Hello and welcome to Dare to Know, interviews with quality and reliability thought leaders. I'm Tim Rogers, and today I'm pleased to welcome Ray Harkins. Ray Harkins is a senior manufacturing professional with over 25 years of experience in manufacturing engineering, quality management, and business analytics. He's written extensively for national trade publications, and he founded the Manufacturing Academy, where he's taught over 11,000 students on the topics of quality engineering, business, finance, and career management. Ray Harkins, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Well, it's great to join you, Tim.
Ray, can you tell us a little bit more about the Manufacturing Academy and why you started it?
Oh, yeah. I started the Manufacturing Academy in September of 2017, really with the mission of providing low cost online training opportunities for manufacturing professionals. And it's also a venue for blogging and writing for those trade publications you mentioned and collaborating with other manufacturing professionals. I've been a fan of online learning for many, many years. And some of these learning platforms that are popping up over the last decade or so. And really, the reason I started it almost by accident was I was just such a fan of Salman Khan and all the work he's done at the Khan Academy. And now, as we're in this coronavirus, parents with children may know the Khan Academy even better than ever because Salman Khan started out with a very simple teaching process where he had basically a black screen and he wrote on it with colored pens and he shows you how to solve algebra equations and trigonometry and this sort of thing. And, way back in 5-6 years ago, I just really enjoyed his skill and his presentation. And I really just wanted to imitate that. So learn how he did it. So I basically bought the simple pen tablet and some software, and I just made a class which became what is today Mastering the 7 Quality Tools. And I just published it out on YouTube and just almost forgot about it. And a couple months later, I went back to check some comments and see how it was doing. I realized I had over 2,500 people had viewed my class. So it got me thinking, there must be a need, there must be a demand for this type of education. So I turned that into my first class, which I published on udemy.com, one of these learning platforms. And it's been a great success. Since then, I've published a total of 14 classes. And as you mentioned, over 11,000 students on all sorts of things, the business finance, the manufacturing. My core training is in quality, so I lean that way. But I love manufacturing and I love sharing what I've learned and picked up with other professionals.
Ray, where the folks who are manufacturing professionals, quality professionals, they've already got a fair amount of education and probably a fair amount of experience as well. Can you say a little bit about the need for continuing education for these folks?
Oh, absolutely. There's drivers here in that would lead a professional to seek more training, more education, and the biggest, most obvious driver is technology. I mean, more so than ever, the diversity of paths and the acceleration that those paths are coming at us, that technology is offering. You absolutely have to continue your training if you're going to stay relevant. Data analytics and robotics and these advanced ERP systems, as they continue to transform manufacturing, professionals are going to have to continuously learn and upskill if they want to stay in the game. And really, aside from the technology too, though, there's your personal motivation. I mean, people want more out of your career. And I advise people all the time, look at your skill set and look at where you want to be and do those two match? How are we going to close that gap? In my field where I work with a lot of engineers, it's common for engineers to want to move into management, but so much of engineering management is ROI analysis and project management and team building. And these are skills that even the best engineers aren't likely to pick up naturally, but you have to focus on those. You have to learn those skills. you know, I think of it this way: each year, my wife and I make decisions about our home. You know, what needs painted, what needs replaced, what needs upgraded. You know, if we don't do that, our house is going to fall apart. Well, our careers are the same way. You know, the days of front loading your education as a young adult and then just relying on experience and on the job training, I don't think that's going to serve today's professionals very well. You have to reinvest some of your money, some of your time, your energy into your career so that it retains its value for your lifetime. And really, that's the model I follow, and it's just a must, more so than ever. You have to reinvest in your career if you want to stay relevant.
Ray, I really like the way you put that. I think it is very important that people invest and think of it in those terms. It's an investment in their future, an investment in their career. Ray, why do you think why aren't people getting this from traditional universities or traditional colleges, kind of the traditional model for education? Are those traditional platforms effective? Are they working well to serve this need?
Yes, in some sense, absolutely they are. I mean, traditional universities remain the cornerstone of higher education and research, and they're fabulous. The institutions. I'm in attending graduate school right now, so they do an excellent job in serving a piece of those educational needs. The problem is that there's barriers to entry, and the one obvious barrier is finances. I mean, colleges and universities are expensive, so there's this barrier to entry where a lot of smart, energetic people just can't get over the hurdle because of the cost. Another obvious barrier is the time constraints with family and kids and community obligations. uh, Fitting your educational needs into these set, 15-week blocks of time may not serve everybody. So they do a fabulous job for those that they serve well. But I think there's a lot of people left outside that really aren't being served by those traditional universities.
Ray, it also seems like traditional universities try to shoehorn people into a degree program, maybe a certificate program, when in fact, what these professionals might be looking for is just a single class or a series of classes about a specific topic. They're not really interested in pursuing another degree, and they don't really need. They'd like to be able to mix and match a little bit. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. We are definitely moving into more of a skills based economy and skills based hiring and employment patterns here. I went to college. I was a roommate with a college friend of mine for several years, and he was a jazz guitar major. And I thought this guy had a 4.0, and I'm struggling with like a 3.2 in engineering, and I asked him, like, why are you even in college? He says, I'm never going to go into a band, rehearsal and show them my degree. They want to know, what can I do? That plug in. Let's hear what you got. And it's a obvious example that a degree doesn't get you into a lead guitar in a band. But so many other fields are turning that same direction where it's what can you do, what skills do you possess, and not so much where did you get those from. And I think we're seeing it, probably the leaders in that area would be technology. So it seems as though, and I'm not a computer programmer and I'm just so with tech, but the pace of technology is, as we mentioned, is outpacing even what universities can keep up with. So they've shifted a lot of their attention to just, do you have the skills? Whether you picked it up on YouTube, you picked it up on a learning platform, however you got it, do you have it? So I think we're seeing more and more of this shift toward the skills base. So like what you said, for someone that's not even interested in pursuing a degree, that motivation is lining up more and more with what I think a lot of the job market is demanding anyhow.
So basically, what we're saying is the students they're acquiring these skills because they see the value in having these skills. They see the value in being able to apply these skills, as opposed to pursuing a piece of paper that they can they can put on a job application or their LinkedIn profile. It's more about satisfying their own desire for skill development rather than trying to satisfy somebody else's requirement.
Absolutely, and like I said, that's I've always felt like I'm a learner. I love reading. I love drawing in information. But people like me and like you, I suspect, Tim, are kind of stuck if you don't have the right degree. So the door, I believe, is opening wider than ever for people that are interested in that, maybe that self learning or some of these learning platforms we started talking about. In my mind, this is a major announcement. Back in June, uh, Donald Trump actually signed an executive order modernizing the assessment and hiring of federal job candidates, where they're actually shifting from a degree based criteria to a skills based criteria. So if the Department of Defense needs a statistician, well, previously they were probably limited to those people that had master's degrees in statistics. Well, now again, that door is opening up for some of those self-taught people to come to the table and bring their skills. So now instead of presenting a degree, you're now taking an exam, standardized test to evaluate your knowledge of statistics. So the lady that graduated from Cornell with her master's degree and the self-taught person who learned on YouTube is sitting right next to her, and they're going to take the same exam, and that's what will qualify them for this position. So the tech companies are doing it. The federal government is doing it, which is huge. I think a lot of other types of organizations are going to follow suit, whether it's manufacturing or finance. These other industries and smaller organizations are going to be following suit. So I think the door is opening wider than ever for the skills based learning and skills based qualifications.
Ray, that makes a lot of sense. I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship when it comes to certifications. I just to give you an example
Mm.
about, I'm thinking of the PMP certification, the Project Management Professional certification offered by PMI. I have known people who are brilliant project managers who are just really skilled at project management, but they do not have a PMP certification, and they sometimes have trouble finding a job. And then there's other people who are PMP certified who I wouldn't trust to organize a trip to the bathroom. So,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I am also a big fan of certifications, and I guess the advantage of a certification is that it has a lower barrier to entry than, say, the full degree. But both really, whether it's a degree or knowledge that you got at a university or a study program for your PNP, they're both providing a foundation. They're not the full answer to fill a job or to meet a need in an organization. They're just indicators that a candidate might be successful in the position. So it's tough. I really understand it. I've leaned a lot toward degrees and certifications and this sort of thing when I've hired engineers or supervisors. The alternative is so tough, though. It's like, how do you assess a candidate otherwise? So, if you're the government or a tech company, yes, you can design your own criteria. But for smaller companies, yeah, I feel for you. It's a little tough to do that.
Ray, a lot of our listeners have they're pretty familiar with what's happening in the world of higher education these days. They may have experienced online learning, online training already. If they haven't, then their kids probably have.
Sure.
But especially with what's happening these days with the pandemic, are you seeing a lot more interest in these kinds of online classes as people are becoming more comfortable with this concept of online learning?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I refer a lot to udemy.com because that's the primary learning platform that I work on. But there's something in the neighborhood, I don't have the current numbers, but probably 25 million people have taken classes on udemy.com. And there's several others from LinkedIn Learning or Udacity or Skillshare. These platforms are growing very quickly. And really, they're getting the attention of universities too, because why? Of course, I'm not going to say stealing their potential customers, but in a sense, now us as consumers of training and education, we have more choices. So anytime you have more choices, well, yes, there's going to be some interest there. The big draw, though, especially for the people you were talking about before that just have a desire to learn, to pick up a specific topics or skills, the learning platforms are pretty low cost. I offer my classes. There's a lot of pricing scenarios that I don't have control over, but basically people pay between $10 and $20 for one of my courses. And compared to a similar class, or at least a class that teaches comparable topics at a university, my gosh, I mean, if you're paying under $500 a credit hour, you're doing pretty good, really. So if you're just looking for a skill set and you stumble upon one of these learning platforms, well, absolutely, you're probably going to gravitate that way. And the demand has just gone through the roof, not just in the number of students taking these classes, but like I said, the number of platforms is getting bigger and bigger all the time.
Ray, we're focusing mostly on quality and reliability professionals here with our podcast. I know you offer a wide variety of different courses. Can you tell us a little bit about courses at the Manufacturing Academy that would particularly appeal to quality and reliability engineers?
Oh, absolutely. The one class that I teach is called an Introduction to Reliability Engineering. I just published that in August of 2019, and I've had over 1,600 students take that class, and I've gotten a ton of positive feedback. I'm looking at my score right now, 4.6 out of 5 stars. I've gotten some fabulous comments and really people asking for more of this type of education, kind of the advanced reliability engineering. But in terms of reliability engineering, that's the only class that I offer. But being a quality professional, I've been a quality manager since 2000. Quality and reliability, as your listeners know, are very closely tied together. If you're a reliability professional looking to extend the life of a product, well, you need to understand the manufacturing, the quality side, at least to minimize those early failures. So I teach a very popular class called Process Capability Analysis. I teach a statistical process control using Microsoft Excel. I teach a cost of quality analysis and reporting class. And actually, I teach a class that I'm going to make an offer to the listeners of Dare to Know called Root Cause Analysis and the 8D Corrective Action Process. If you're working in warranty repair or field failure, or even internally as a quality professional, it's so critical that you have tools at your disposal to understand what happened, why did it happen, and how are we going to prevent this from happening again. So in this class called Root Cause Analysis and the 8D Corrective Action Process, I teach not just the fundamental skills of root cause analysis, but I offer some really solid strategies for correcting and eliminating defects in your manufacturing process. So I talk about Andon, and I talk a lot about statistics and interpreting control charts, and I talk about Poka yokes and other strategies. The class itself is over 9 hours long, and like I said, the sale price is something I think the full retail price is like $74.99. I am going to offer a coupon code for listeners of this Dare to Know podcast episode. They can get that class for $16.99 if they'd like to sign up for it. You get the class, of course, the 9.5 hours of video. You get lifetime access to the course. So if maybe you're not ready right now to dedicate some time to the class, it's okay. Once you sign up, you're eligible for life. 5 years from now, you can come back, brush up on the course. And really, the thing that I try to offer these students is me. Any student that signs up for my class has direct access. They can message me through udemy.com. And I try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. And I'll tell you what, Tim, that's been one of the great joys for me in teaching these classes. I've taught again, over 11,000 students from 120 nations. I hear from people around the world all the time. And sometimes it's just a comment, a question, of course, but I've forged some friendships, and I've heard from really brilliant people from all sorts of industries and professions. It's been a great delight of mine to work with and interact with these people. So anyway, I just wanted to make that class available, root cause analysis and the 8D corrective action process. I have a coupon code. It's Dare to Know, all one word, lowercase, and you can get that class. Normally it's $74.99. With the Dare to Know coupon code, it's only $16.99.
Wow, Ray, that's a great offer. Thanks so much for making that available to our listeners.
Of course.
Ray, any other, how can listeners reach out to you? How can they find you if they want to learn more about your work at the Manufacturing Academy?
Oh, sure. And so obviously through Udemy is a great way to get a hold of me. But if you just want to touch base, I'm available through my website, www.themanufacturingacademy.com. And there's a contact link on my website. And also through LinkedIn. That's probably the social network that I use the most. So through LinkedIn, if you search for me, Ray Harkins, you'll find me pretty quickly. And I'd love to hear from listeners. Again, it's been one of my great pleasures to connect with professionals around the world. If I can ever be of service or help, I'd be glad to.
Ray, this has been great. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Tim.
That was Ray Harkins, Quality and Technical Manager and Online Educator at the Manufacturing Academy. Again, to learn more about the Manufacturing Academy, go to their site. That's www.themanufacturingacademy.com. That's all one word, themanufacturingacademy.com. This is Tim Rogers. Thanks again for joining us.